Hello and welcome to round 6 of the BMW 12.0 challenge in iRacing, being brought to you this week from Hockenheim. Now, if you watched my video of the 5th round last week, you'll probably remember me talking about how nervous I get if I get placed in a single split with all the top drivers. Well, imagine those nerves when you get to line up against a double world champion in Formula 1. Yeah, that's right, Fernando Alonso is at the front of the grid and starting from pole position in today's race. It's certainly not every day that you get to line up against a bona fide F1 legend in sim racing, so I may be nervous, but I'm also incredibly excited. But before we do go to today's race, I thought it would be interesting just to have a quick look at exactly how Alonso took his flying lap to put it on pole position. His qualifying time was a 1:31.8. Now that's more than 2 seconds quicker than what I'm lapping, and straight away I can see where he's gaining time, notably in turn 1. He's taking it in 4th gear, getting his line perfect, hitting the apex perfectly, just clipping the sausage curb and getting a really fast exit out of turn 1. Whereas me, I'm having to shift down into 3rd. It's the only way I can control the M4 and keep it from drifting out wide. And this tight section here of two right-handers, this is about the only part of the track where I can confidently say I'm as fast as Fernando Alonso. I've been taking those 2 turns really well. But from here on in, Alonso's got the pace on me again, I'm pretty sure of that. And as we approach the stadium section, here's another example of a corner that Alonso's taking in 4th that I have to take in 3rd. I did try and practice a couple of times to do it in 4th, but I kept drifting wide and invalidating my lap, so I just find that 3rd gear helps me with a bit of extra engine braking, keeps the car a little bit more stable, but it's clear to see that this is a guy who absolutely knows what he's doing. So there we are, crossing the line in 1:31.8 for pole position. And now we've seen what Alonso's got in his locker, what can I come up with? Is the illustrious competition going to inspire me to produce a lap for the ages? Well, if it is, I know I've got to get T1 right, so I'm going to try and carry as much speed through here as possible without running wide, and this is how it ends up. With a very unwelcome introduction to one of Hockenheim's concrete walls. I think it's safe to say that my qualifying didn't go quite as well as Fernando Alonso's. Having said that, I have managed to put it 6th on the grid. That clip we just saw then was actually my 2nd qualifying lap. My first one I put a banker in, I got a 1:33.9. So I'm reasonably pleased actually just to be starting from the middle of the pack, given that this is a single split race and we're up against a lot of really fast guys.
There's the flag. It's over.
Okay, well that's qualifying over, so let's get over to the grid ahead of the rolling start. And before we cut to the live action, I just want to give a quick shout out to Ben at Sim Racing. I was expecting to take a week off from this series this week because I didn't own Hockenheim and I wasn't planning on buying any new content in iRacing this season, but Ben has just joined iRacing and by referring him I managed to get a racing credit, so I was able to use that credit to buy this circuit and get on the grid. So I'm indebted to Ben for the opportunity to race against Fernando Alonso today, and if you haven't already, please do check out Sim Racing on YouTube. Ben's just made it out of the rookies and he's starting a season in the USF 2000 Championship, and it's a great watch. Anyway, the lights are about to go green, so let's get over to the live action and see how we get on. I haven't done a particularly good job of sticking with the cars in front of me here, but I'm not too worried about that because it gives me a bit of space coming into this turn 1. So we can get through there safely without having any challenges. And as per usual in this car, I'm going to take it very easy for these first couple of laps, both on the brakes and getting on the gas out of corners because I've never got much confidence in the grip while these tyres are warming up. Oh, and as I say that, yeah, someone in front has just suffered that exact problem. I'm guessing they just got on the gas a little bit too early and the rear stepped out and there was no saving it. Oh, looks like there's been an even bigger incident here, and I think that's 3 cars that are out on the left there, so if that is the case, we're up to 3rd position, and yeah, it looks like we are. We've got Alonso, who's clearing off in the lead, and then Longshore second and me in third. So this is an absolutely incredible start for a single split race. I'm going to end the first lap in third position. It's certainly early days yet though, and I don't know how much time those guys behind me lost with those spins, so if they were able to rejoin damage free, I wouldn't be at all surprised to start seeing them in my rearview mirror before too long, because I know they're lapping between 1 or 2 seconds a lap quicker than I can. And just looking at the relative board there, the car behind Lionel, he was in third position, so he's certainly quicker than me. And he's only half a second behind, so he's going to be right on my tail before too long. But we do cross the line in third place.
You're now in third.
Right, before we have to deal with the incoming Lionel, let's go back and take a look at the replay of the incidents on that first lap, starting with the car in front of me. And as I said, cold tyres, no traction control, it's a recipe for disaster in this M4. And he just gets on the gas a little bit too early, the rear steps out and there's no saving it, and he hits the wall. And then a couple of corners later, we saw 3 cars crash out. Now we're watching the number 5, Merckx. He gets it all wrong on the exit to this turn, gets too close to the car in front, hits him, spins him around, gets clipped himself. Then the car behind's got nowhere to go, so he has to run off too. And all of a sudden, there's 3 cars in the runoff area, and I go from 6th to 3rd in one swoop. And we're just watching the incident again from up above, and to be fair to Merckx, who caused the accident, he was the first to hold his hands up and apologise to those 2 guys in the race chat afterwards, so that is always good to see when mistakes happen. It looks like Lionel's trying to get into my draft now, and he's going to have a look up the inside as we approach this right-hander, so I think I'm just going to give him a bit of space. Make it easy for him to get through. As I said earlier, I know he's lapping about 1.5 seconds quicker than I do, so doesn't seem much point in trying to defend that line. He's going to get past sooner or later, so I may as well let him get through safely. And actually it might even help my times, because I can slot in behind him, use him as a bit of a target to chase, rather than looking in my rear view mirror and panicking. Yeah, it was a pretty textbook pass, that one. Lionel just getting into my draft to try and get a bit of extra speed before pulling out to have a look up the inside. I could have made it harder than I did, but in the end I decided just to stay out a bit wider, let him take the apex and take the position. I was hoping Lionel might be able to pull me to some faster times, but it looks like he's just clearing off at the moment, and instead I've got Gunter behind me to worry about. I don't think Gunter's got quite the same pace as Lionel, so I certainly won't be making it as easy for him to pass, but I do think he's got a few tenths on me each lap, so I wouldn't be at all surprised to see him closing in on the next few corners. I do feel quite confident around that section there. I'm taking it pretty quickly, so I certainly maintain the gap there. But it's just around here I start to struggle a bit, particularly this right-hander. Just knowing how much of the curb to take, how much gas to give it without running wide or spinning. But we have maintained that 1/2 second gap, so Gunter's not closing in just yet. He's eking a bit closer now. And yeah, right behind me, he's right on my tail as we enter the stadium section. So yeah, I'm going to have Gunter incoming very shortly. Don't quite know where he's thinking of making a move. Just got to try and get on the gas as quickly as I can to head down the start and finish straight. 0.3 of a second, the gap. Important to get this turn right. Oh, and I haven't done. I've drifted wide. That's surely going to be the first incident point. Yeah, I felt that I was drifting a bit wide there, just carrying a bit too much speed. Oh, and suddenly Gunter lunges up the inside. He's surely not going to get that stopped. He isn't, so I might be able to cut back and get alongside him, but I just haven't got the line for that left-hand kink. So yeah, Gunter's made the pass stick. Caught me a bit by surprise that I wasn't expecting him to make the move as quickly as he did, but he was very late on the brakes and he did well to even get it stopped and keep it on the track. Yeah, well, let's go back and take a look at that opportunistic pass from Gunter, and I brought it on myself with my poor exit out of T1, but yeah, he pulls alongside me here and very late on the brakes. Look how fast he enters that corner, and he does run pretty deep in there, but he's got the inside line for that left-hand turn, and there was nothing I could do about it. Had a think about trying to get in his draft to see if I could pull back, but no, just didn't have the speed. Just got a tiny bit out of shape exiting the final turn there. I might have got on the gas a little bit too early. The rear started to twitch, but we held it. And we actually clocked our fastest lap of the race there, 1:33.7. That's faster than my qualifying time. So that will help us keep pace with Gunter. And try and keep Merckx at bay, but he is within half a second of me now behind. And I know he was one of the drivers in front of me at the start. I think he was involved in that 3-car pile-up. Oh, Gunter's locked up, so he's made a mistake in there. Is that going to let us get back on his tail? We're not quite close enough yet. But the fact he's making mistakes is a good sign. It means he's pushing. Oh, he's got out of shape there as well. So yeah, he's definitely pushing and he's definitely making mistakes, so that's encouraging. It means he's watching me in his rearview mirror and he's feeling the heat a little bit because he's certainly pushing, so let's try and stick with him. If I can keep that pressure dialed up, he might make a bigger mistake and it might give us 4th place back. Although I've got one eye on 4th, but I should have one eye behind me as well because Merckx is closing in by the corner. He's within 0.3 of a second now. Well, as Gunter runs wide again, he's completely off the track there. I don't think that'll harm his speed though, unless he's picked up a slowdown penalty, but he probably got away with that. But yeah, he's rattled Gunter, he's making mistakes. Oh, he's run really wide again, and I've followed him in this time, and that's going to give Merckx the chance to get up the inside. He took turn 1 perfectly, he's got much better drive than I have. So he's going to have a look up the inside. I think I'm going to have to let him go here. And I've come in too deep myself to cut back even. So yeah, now we've gone down to 6th. Yeah, I've lost count of how many times I make that mistake, concentrating so hard on the driver in front that you end up making exactly the same mistake he does. Gunter runs wide and I just follow his line, run wide too, get over the curb, lose a bit of drive. That invites Merckx to get right alongside me and I've got no way of defending that line now. I had half a thought of trying to cut it back just in case Merckx ran wide, but he didn't, and in the end I just went in a little bit too hot anyway, so that ruined that one and put us back down to 6th. Last lap then, and I don't think I'm close enough to either of these two guys to be able to push them on this last lap. Merckx did run pretty wide there and I got a better turn, but I don't think I've got the power to close in. Got a gap of a second behind me, so as long as I keep it smooth, don't make any mistakes, I should be okay for 6th, but there's still 3/4 of a lap to go, so I don't want to count any chickens just yet. Let's just try and keep it on the tarmac. Closing in on both of them a bit around here. Like I say, I take those corners fairly comfortably. And we are closing in. Clipping that sausage curb. Probably cost us a 10th. So we've still got that 1 second gap behind. That's the most important thing as we approach the stadium section for the final time. It all hangs on a mistake being made from Gunter or Merckx at the moment. Otherwise, we're going to be 6th. Can't see them making one though. They both look fairly smooth and they're not close enough to be battling. So I don't think Merckx is close enough to make a final turn lunge or anything. He's not, so we're going to cross the line in 6th place. And Fernando Alonso's gone already. He's crossed the line, packed away and done. He was well clear. Set an incredible pace at the front, but I'm more than happy with 6th place. I'm more than happy with any mid-pack finish when we do these single split races and there's such a strong lineup of talent on the grid. But of all that talent, I think it's worth just watching the 2-time Formula 1 world champion Fernando Alonso take the last lap around this national circuit at Hockenheim on his way to the checkered flag. And you can see here, right the way to the last lap, he never stops pushing, using every inch of the circuit, scraping the wall there as he powers into this right-hander into the stadium section. And usually when you watch these TV replays on iRacing, you can't really tell if someone's going faster or slower or whatever, but with this, you can certainly see how hard Alonso is pushing, getting his lines perfect. Maximum speed through these final corners and powering onto the straight for the final time to take the checkered flag. More than 8 seconds clear of anyone else in the race. And just like that, it was over. And the Formula 1 legend was gone. But we can see his name at the top of the classifieds. And there, as you can see, an incident-free race for Alonso with a fastest lap of 1:31.7, so he managed to get a little bit quicker than his qualifying time. But that's a really strong podium. 3 A-licensed drivers with huge I ratings, none more so than Alonso. Look at his I rating, 3,698. He gained 32 from that race alone. Whereas I lost 2 points, but I'm not too worried about that. Instead, I'm actually pretty encouraged that I was so competitive in such a high standard of grid. Just looking at the results there, and there's less than 3 seconds separating 4th from 6th. So I really was that close to pushing for a decent 4th position, which would have given me a great championship points haul. Instead, I've got to settle for 39 points, and that's a little bit below what I've been averaging week to week throughout the season so far. Of course, I've got the option that I can go back and try this race again later when hopefully there'll be more drivers entered and maybe a couple of splits. There may be some more points on offer there. But for now, I just couldn't resist sharing that time I raced Fernando Alonso. Cheers, guys.